People are calling this the Steam Deck 2, and for pretty good reason. This is the new Lenovo Legion GO S. It's a pretty insanely spec'd PC handheld, with a catch. This is the first official handheld to launch with SteamOS, which is Valve's custom Linux OS designed for the Steam Deck. And what this does is translate to a much better gaming experience in the way of performance improvements due to the lack of system overhead typically required by Windows, and it brings a much needed improvement to this handheld in the way of simplifying the experience to make it much more console-like. But for $850 is Lenovo's Legion GO S something that's actually worth considering, or is the entry fee just simply too much to even justify? Before we get into it, I just want to say thank you so much for the support that you've been showing me. We are almost at 60,000 subscribers, and it means the absolute world to me. So I seriously cannot thank you all enough. It really does mean a lot. Anyways, I think it's important to look at the Legion GO S for what it is first. This isn't like the Steam Deck. This isn't running older hardware, although let's put an asterisk on that older part for right now. The unboxing is pretty straightforward. You get the Legion GO S and you get a 65-watt USB-C power adapter, and that's pretty much it. However, when it comes to this handheld, it's actually pretty stacked. There's an 8-inch LCD display with a 120Hz refresh rate. It has 32 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM running at 7,500 megatransfers a second, and it's also rocking a 1TB SSD, which is, mind you, actually pretty easily upgradable. There's Hall effect thumbsticks and Hall effect triggers, which are really nice to see, and there's even something that I haven't seen yet at all on a handheld, and that's the ability to turn these triggers into hair triggers with a switch, which make it very nice for shooters so you get that hair trigger response. It even carries over some Steam Deck DNA with a tiny, and I mean tiny, touchpad so that you can use it for mouse input. It is quite finicky though, and to be honest, I actually don't touch this thing at all. And it also has microSD expansion, which is always nice to see because it helps bringing ROMs over for your emulators, and it is nice to just easily expand the storage on a whim. Now that asterisk that I was talking about a second ago is for the Z1 Extreme. The Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme is out now, and I think that it's a miss that Lenovo didn't include it with the Legion GO S. It would have been nice to see, especially at this price point, but to be honest, I'm pretty happy with the performance that I've been getting as of right now anyways. Now, just like the Steam Deck, this thing is massive, but surprisingly, it's actually very comfortable. The grips are very defined, the corners sit nicely in my palm, the analogs are in a solid position. I actually really like the offset control scheme, and personally, I wasn't too big of a fan of the Steam Deck's layout anyways. All the triggers and the buttons feel really good, and they're very responsive, and from an ergonomic standpoint, I think the Legion GO S is one of the most comfortable handhelds that I've used, but at 730 grams, I will say that it does honestly become very tiring to use for an extended period of time. For me though, this is a trade-off that I'm personally okay with, simply because of what's packed in here, as well as that massive 16:10 display. It makes the experience way more immersive, and it's something that I actually like to pick up and play. Though, before we talk about gaming on this thing, I do want to address a couple of issues that I've been having with it because it hasn't necessarily been the most pleasing experience so far. Now, the issues that I have are unserious and they don't really affect the handheld, at least not all of them, but for the price that I paid here in Canada, which is about $1,300 after tax, I was kind of just bummed out about this, and I think it's kind of silly to see. So by holding the menu button at the top right and moving the left stick, you can increase or decrease your brightness. Same thing with moving it up and down for the volume. This is great, and little shortcuts like this are nice to have, but the amount of times that this is like just bugged out on me is insane. See, I'm trying to turn the brightness up or down, it doesn't work. I can't even turn the volume up or down using that keybind. Not the same bug that I was having before, but an entirely new bug. Yay. Even when I stop holding the menu button, there's a lot of times where it just straight up thinks I am, so I have to force restart it because every time I make a movement in a game, it thinks that I'm either turning up the volume or turning up the brightness or vice versa, and yeah, it's very frustrating. And another weird bug that I have is the lights on the analog sticks just straight up stopped working. Now, they did work out of the box, like they were fine, they were lighting up blue, but yeah, I don't really understand what's happened here. The utility tool for this, which is something that you can actually use to change the colors, isn't actually natively available on SteamOS yet. And I haven't found a button combination that changes the color, that changes the brightness, that turns them on, that turns them off. So it's a little weird to see. This, again, is not a big deal. At least to me, it's not something that I really care about. But I do find it somewhat troubling that there's hardware on this device that is basically locked behind software that doesn't exactly exist yet on SteamOS, and it's just kind of puzzling for a product that is supposed to be in its ready, mass production stage. So yeah. I want to be clear, I'm not bringing these up to complain about them. In fact, I'm bringing them up to draw attention to them because there doesn't seem to be a lot of information online about these things simply because this is just too new. So if you have any of these problems, let me know in the comments down below because I'm sure, for one, it'll help me and it'll help some other people as well who might have them. And while we're on this, I do want to add that this thing charges incredibly slowly. And there actually was a time where I was playing and I did see battery drain while I was charging. And yeah, that was using the 65 watt power adapter that came in the box with the Legion GO S. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. I'm not sure if this unit is defective or if the power draw for some reason is just way higher than it needs to be. But like I said, if you have any of these problems or know of maybe even a way to fix any of them, let me know in the comments down below. And don't worry, I will bring up the battery life shortly, but let's talk about the gaming experience for right now. I have a handful of games loaded up that I was excited to try out and test the performance of, and I will be doing a more thorough breakdown of this as time goes on. Typically, I like to wait on some more updates to smooth things over so that it doesn't make my video redundant in like a week, but here's what I've seen so far. I've been using the performance profile for most games because I want to get the most performance and the highest frame rates possible. So starting with Splitgate 2, this is a very new first-person shooter with crazy movement mechanics and kind of this Portal-like gimmick, but it's very fun. It's somewhat like Halo, but in a way kind of on steroids, and it's something that I've been enjoying a lot here on the Legion GO S. In that performance mode, I'm getting over 100 frames per second and it's very smooth. I have no issues at all with stutters or frame drops. It's been a really solid experience and it's something that I've been picking up over and over again because it's actually just quite addicting here. Those Hall effect thumbsticks, by the way, make it a much better experience because I feel like it can actually be much more accurate, and the paddles on the back are nice for doing things in game like jumping and sliding without taking my thumb off of the analog sticks. For Assassin's Creed Shadows, I was able to get around 40 frames per second in the performance profile with the low quality setting, but this is something that can be improved with FSR and frame gen. Though Assassin's Creed Shadows is the only game that I've experienced this in, but it almost feels like it's running slower. Like everything is just barely in slow motion. I hope this translates on video, but I don't know if this is because of the input latency due to the lower frame rate or if there's actually just an issue with this title. I mean, it's Ubisoft, so there probably is an issue with it, but it was just really weird to see and it's not something that I saw on any other device before. It's a game that unfortunately I was super excited to play on here, and I just feel like because of the experience that I'm having, it's one that I'm most likely going to stay away from for the time being, but I will come back to it when I do review this next time to see if there's been any improvements in that category. Obviously, games like Cult of the Lamb, Dead Cells, and House Flipper, which are much less demanding titles, can be run on the lower, balanced, or low power preset and give you a great experience. I do think that it's funny that a game I end up playing the most on these handhelds is always Cult of the Lamb, which is something that I know I could just play on the Switch too, or the Switch, but don't judge me, I actually like indie games, and they're always something that's really nice to play on these devices. Now, I was playing Tiny Tina's Wonderlands on low. I was able to get around 60 frames per second in performance, and while I was messing with the game to test it out, I kind of just got lost in it and played around through quite a bit of the opening sequence. It's definitely a playable game, and it's really enjoyable to play on the Legion GO S, and it's something that I'll definitely pick up from time to time, since I've never actually beat this game when I played it on console. Now, Red Dead Redemption 2, I mean, it's no surprise that it runs very well on the Legion GO S. It did run pretty well on the Steam Deck OLED, and it's one of those titles that really showed what the deck was capable of. Of course, this is a game that I personally would run in performance mode just to get the most out of the Legion GO S, but because this thing can boost around 33 watts, this is where the fun kind of dwindles a bit. The 55 watt hour battery inside of here lasts me around an hour and a half of playing Splitgate 2 in that performance profile. Mind you, this isn't a super large battery. I am playing in performance mode and I am using the 120Hz display. This isn't uncommon for handhelds. It's just something that I was hoping to see magically be improved because the whole point is to take this thing on the go. I mean, go is literally in the name of this device. And if I were to do that without bringing along a power adapter or being mindful of where I'm playing, I'll be limiting myself to those lighter titles like Cult of the Lamb, which makes me really ask myself, do I actually need one of these things? Of course, I love this stuff and it's always exciting to mess around with new hardware, but I think the Legion GO S, without hurting hurting anyone's feelings, almost feels like it's too new in a way. Like I'm sort of paying for and playing on a beta device. Like I said, the discharging while charging, the little software bugs that pop up here and there, the lack of being able to control the lighting on this device, and the short battery when actually playing games. To me, it just seems like there's a lot of trade-offs with the price of this handheld. But I will be testing this thing out a lot more, and I will come back to it in a full review like I said. So if you have any questions that you want answered about this device, leave them in the comments down below. Now, I do think that the Legion GO S, aside from these shortcomings, is from a comfort and hardware perspective, the best handheld that I've ever used. At least for my small hands. It's been top tier, even though it looks like an absolute behemoth. But on the other hand, the Steam Deck is cheaper. Even the OLED model with a 1TB SSD costs significantly less than this. And although it's not on par in terms of performance necessarily, I'd still say that it's a better buy even in this day and age. It has an included carrying case, which is something that you don't get with the Legion GO S, and that's another additional purchase that you need to make on top of this thing. It has far better support with years of user experience, and there's a bunch of different tweaks and customizations that you can use with a bunch of different plugins that were made by the community. And there's also years of just information about that device on YouTube and in forums if you do have a problem with it that you need an answer to. You also get a fantastic OLED display that, while not as sharp at 800p, does look amazing, and you don't need to push the system as hard since it's rendering less pixels. The Steam Deck also has much more in the way of accessories and mods if you are into that kind of stuff, and from my experience, even though I can't speak to Lenovo when it comes to this because I've simply just never owned that many Lenovo devices, but with Steam, well, there's a good shot that if something happens, Steam support has got you covered, because Steam support, time and time again, has proven to be one of like the most loyal customer service bases in the world. So let's go back to the title, let's go back to the opening phrase for a second. Is this the Steam Deck 2? Well, obviously not. It's not made by Valve, but in my opinion, it doesn't really come close. To me, this is just a premium, high-cost SteamOS handheld, which does have a lot of potential to be great, mind you, but it comes with a couple of sacrifices at a pretty hefty price point. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, a like and a sub to the channel goes a really, really long way, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, dropping a frog emoji in the comments down below shows me who the real ones are, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.